Fuck yes, welcome out to the Happy New Host. As always, Brian Joseph. With me, as always, is Jonathan Hardesty.
I'm here and
CHEWIE
awake.
Darso.
Hi.
And Emily Blake.
I'm hungover.
I like that the other two have gotten, like, they try to get as little in as possible before I interrupt them. But John still tries to get more in.
I will get a novel in there, damn it. It was best times, worst of times.
That would actually be pretty wonderful, and at the end of the year, Brian just cuts it all together.
Oh, that would be pretty awesome.
A montage of my interruptions.
Just the longest, most panicked. And then he... We'll get there.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, you'll get one sentence in by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Our special guest today is Libby Ward. Hi, Libby.
Hello.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug right off the bat?
Yes, you can find me all over the internet at Sneaky Varmint. If you Google Sneaky Varmint, you will find Libby Ward's Twitter, Instagram, website, Facebook, all the things.
Would you find any sneaky varmints?
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. but you got to go to find out.
You'll find half Libby Ward, half sneaky varmints.
I enjoy following you on Instagram.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's the adventures of a giddy writer and magician, musician, and gadabout. That's me.
Gadabout. What is it?
A gadabout is a habitual pleasure seeker. So, as evidenced by my appearance on this podcast this morning after accepting a spontaneous invitation last night, I say yes to nearly everything, with very few exceptions.
And that's pretty awesome.
So I get into all kinds of adventures.
Yeah.
That's pretty
That
awesome.
sounds fun.
I'm not as yesy. I probably
Yeah,
should.
I'm definitely not. But
I mean, it does take up a lot of your time and energy
Yeah.
to say yes to everything, which is okay. I have coffee.
yeah, we had two other people that we had asked this week who both, for various reasons, said no, and Libby was kind enough at the very last minute to go, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's going to be great.
Thank you.
But
Yeah,
before we
absolutely.
get into today's battle, we should do a Where Have You Been Doing? I will go first. I read the most underwhelming comic book of the week, which was Marvel Legacy. Everyone had been like promoting this, like it's the biggest and coolest thing that's going to happen this year in comics. But it was just, like everyone had kind of like said it was like Marvel's answer to Rebirth, and I expected Rebirth quality, and no.
So you're unplugging a thing.
Yeah,
Don't read Marvel
From
Legacy.
what I
I'm saying that you can read it. It's okay. Like the art was really good. They have a Ghost Rider sub-story in there that was really awesome. You can tell that somebody at Marvel wants to do Fantastic Four, but they still won't let them do it. Johnny even throws up the Four flare, which was pretty cool. But it was just
The way you described it to me, with all the male characters coming back, it just sounded like, we regret doing all these female ones, so revamp, back to the dudes.
well, it's not even back to the dudes. It's just the dudes are back as well. So you have Ironheart and Iron Man. You have Lady Thor and Male Thor, and it's like, oh great. So now you still have two.
Gotta get that
characters.
representation in for the males.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a whole double date
kind of. Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
Double dates for everyone.
I guess it's just. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely worth a read if you are interested to see what Marvel's up to right now. It's kind of nice to have one not written by Brian Michael Bendis, and I really like Brian Michael Bendis. I think he does good stuff, but they kind of throw him in all their big tentpole stuff, so it's kind of cool getting one without his quippy
Give him
writing. in
a
there.
break, you know?
Since Wolverine is back, though, is X-23 still going to be called Wolverine, or is she going to go back to
They
just being
haven't
X?
really said yet, so it's
Okay.
like that's. So there are going to be two Thors running around, or there are going to be two Hulks running around. Like it's.
I'm having fun imagining the two Thors banging each other.
I mean,
are they related?
Maybe there'll be
Oh,
some
it's-
sort of.
It's his girlfriend.
It's Jane Foster.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be like a nickname
I don't know.
contest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Or
don't
they'll
read
be
the-
like,
Oh, man.
here's a list of nicknames I, as the Hulk, have been considering. Please vote and decide what everyone would like to call me.
I mean, that would be far more interesting than what they're doing.
They can all have shirts with like 1 and 2 on them.
Yeah.
And then have fights over which one gets 1 and which one gets 2.
But really quick before I move out of this thing, the one thing I will say about it is that you should read it. It's definitely kind of cool to get a new Marvel thing, and actually a new Marvel thing, not just another rehash of one of their old stories. But Marvel, I really want to say, is being total dicks to retailers, and it's unacceptable, and they should change their game. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. I don't want to go, because it'll take me an hour to explain it here. But
Oh,
they're being
okay.
All right.
Here,
where it is.
here, I can explain it really quick. They're forcing people to buy more books than they can sell, and when DC requested the same thing, they said, whatever you don't sell, we'll buy back for the first 10 issues of every run. Marvel said, we'll just throw them in the trash. So they have to eat the cost.
That's
Go Marvel!
What? How is that promotional of your brand in any way? Or,
I know.
or respectful to your fans?
Yeah, it's horrible.
Boo.
Yep. horrible. So there was a lot of chains that are boycotting Legacy and all Legacy books, and they're big chains, and they're just not carrying them until they stop this bullshit. Hooray for Marvel! You're still doing movies, right? At least you got that going.
I read more DC comics anyway, so.
Well, that's it for me, though. If somebody wants to go into something a little bit more fun or positive, please do.
I have fun and positive.
Awesome.
On the west side on Thursday nights, in the general vicinity of Culver. I live on the east side, so when I drive that way, it just feels like I'm going far away. But the Arsenal hosts magic every Thursday night that is presented by my friend Michael Rangel, who is stunning. It's very sort of heartfelt and emotional magic. On Thursday nights, there's more walk-around tableside magic, but then he also hosts a show called Luminar, which is coming up on, it's Sundays. I think it's Sundays once a month, but if you look up Luminar or Michael Rangel, you'll find this very interesting, spiritual, beautiful magic event, and I think everybody should check it out.
How do you spell Luminar?
Luminar.
Glad I asked.
Yeah, with a little,
It's French,
with a
I'm
little
sure.
flame for the eye.
Question for clarification. Tableside magic? What's the difference?
Yeah, so tableside or strolling or walk around, all sort of different names for the same thing, is frequent of restaurant magicians where you sort of walk around and you see who's not in the middle of scarfing down a steak and share a few interesting pieces of magic with them while they're waiting for their food or yeah, and sort of, you bounce around. And actually the Magic Castle has a strolling showdown, which is bonkers. There's no food at all involved. It's like speed dating for magicians where you just like run between tables to like 35 different tables and you're like, magic! And and hopefully whatever you have, because you're doing it for a bunch of magicians who are judging you, which is terrifying, which is why I only participate so far as a judge, not
Right.
as a contestant, because it's scary. Yeah, so they basically run around and try to present as many unique pieces that magicians will be like, oh, that's cool enough to, give you a high score.
Oh,
Yeah.
Neat.
cool.
And let me tell you what my other Thursday thing that I did immediately following the Arsenal was to pop by the Corner Door, which has recently incorporated, it's like a speakeasy, pretty basic whiskey type bar, but they've incorporated some Alice in Wonderland drinks into their menu.
I read about this.
Yes, I also read about it, and I was like, look, I'm on the west side already. I should go drink these drinks. And one of them in particular is so fabulous. It's a mushroom-infused bourbon drink that's served basically on a slice of tree trunk in a very hefty crystal glass. It's like an $18 drink, so have it once, but it's worth it once, with little meringue mushrooms and cookie dirt, and it's under a cake dome filled with hickory smoke.
That's bananas.
So it's like
Actually,
a
that sounds like
dessert.
bananas.
It's
is
not
yeah,
just a
something
drink.
not
no,
in this
no,
drink.
it's like a dessert meal drink
Wha-
show extravaganza. But I was very impressed with it, and if you happen to be swinging around on the west side and not driving, then
Of Los Angeles.
yeah,
Should
then-
mention also of Los Angeles.
Yes, right, of Los Angeles. Well, the west side of anywhere.
Yeah.
Just go.
if you look hard enough, it'll show up.
Yeah. I mean, that's the magical quality of Alice, right?
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
Wonderland.
Just dive through a mirror. You'll find it.
Yeah.
Next.
I'll go. I didn't do so much this week. It was very much I'm really tired after work, and
You have to say yes more.
I have to say yes more. And then, yeah. But yesterday, while we were cleaning and relaxing, we watched Fright Night, the first one. And I have never actually seen the first Fright Night. I saw the remake, and I really enjoy the remake. And I discovered after watching the first one, I still really enjoy the remake.
Something about that David Tennant.
Well, it's not just David Tennant. I just kind of really enjoyed Vincent being more of this like tragic, beaten down guy who needs to get over his past to help this younger guy defeat a vampire, and not just kind of like a bumbling actor that suddenly discovers that vampires are real. I just didn't attach myself to that, and I kind of hated the best friend. That guy was a terrible actor. He was annoying, and he sounded like he never actually reached puberty. His voice was too high the whole time.
He was having a lot of fun.
Maybe
I was having a lot of fun.
What have you done to me?
every time he was on
Got a
camera,
SAG
I just be
voucher.
like, go away. Maybe if I'd seen it when I was young, it was definitely more of a special effects extravaganza than the remake was.
Do you remember the year that the original came
I
out?
think it was like 45.
I don't know.
I didn't look at
Mid-80s.
this,
Yeah, I don't
but
know.
it was.
Because there's always I haven't seen it, but you have to like experience things through the special filter of
it was so 80s.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
did enjoy the super 80s moments, like the what they were wearing and the
Yeah.
hair. I loved that the Amy was the neighbor from Married with Children, because it bugged me for a while. Like, who are you? You sound so familiar. And then when she became a vampire, every time they'd cut back to her, her hair was different.
No,
It was so
Amazing.
funny. Like, it was big, now it's flat, now it's curly, now it's red.
That is
Damn it.
one of the perks.
of being a vampire.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just
continuity
kept
errors.
changing.
Oh,
And then the moment she
guys.
wasn't a vampire, it was short again, and she was a brunette again. Which was
Come
like,
on.
Wow.
I don't know. It was that I enjoyed, but if I'm gonna rewatch one, I'm still just gonna rewatch the original or the remake. Sorry.
The remake wears its camp on its sleeve a little bit more.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell is having the time of his life.
Oh, yeah.
No.
And Anton Yelchin. I love
Oh,
Anton
it's
Yelchin.
yeah. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anton Yelchin, the one
So
of
Yeah,
the could have been one of the greats.
Fright
and-
Night's one of those weird ones. Yeah, it's just like the remake is actually really, really fun, but
Yeah.
just kind of
They're
transcends it
very
with that.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also love that because I didn't know David Tennant was in this. I didn't know that was David Tennant until he disassembled his costume, and I went, "Oh shit!" That was great.
Next.
I am reading a romance novel.
Ooh.
Which kind? Is it dirty?
Yeah.
I love it when it's dirty.
It's called Worth the Wait by Joey W. Hill, and she's known for writing BDSM. So it's sort of like what 50 Shades of Grey wishes it was, although it made a lot more money. Because hers are only available on Kindle. But actually, you might be able to buy paperback. But I think romance novels get a lot of shit. But the same people who shit on romance novels are happy to read a Maxim or a Playboy. Like, that's not the equivalent, you know?
Right.
Like, somehow, everyone's praising Hugh Hefner, but they'll be like, romance novels are stupid.
I haven't seen anyone say that on my Facebook.
Yeah, a lot of people on mine have, and I think he's gross. But anyway, no, but it's really it's interesting because it's about, like, I totally see, it's the first time reading a romance novel, and I totally see why they're popular because it's not just about, people think it's just like a sex scene. It's not about the sex scene. It's about the seduction, and it's about, like,
About them fall, like, getting to that point.
getting to that point.
The
And
thing is not as important as getting to it.
It's
and,
vicarious living. It's like there's a woman
If
who
a
just
guy said that to me on a date, I'd be like, "What am I setting myself up for?"
But it's about, like, a woman who just, like, has all these bad experiences with romances and has sworn them off, and she's just not going to have romance anymore. And then she meets this guy who's really good at ropes, and she's just like, and then he's a dom, and she's just, like, never done submissive stuff before, and she's, like, interested in it, and he can tell right away. And then he's just like, she's like, "No, I don't want to get into this life," and he's like, "Really?" And he'll touch her, and
It
she's
kind of
just
sounds like
"Ooh."
50 Shades right now.
Yeah, but the difference is, I think, because I haven't actually read 50 Shades, but I know from a lot of people in the BDSM community, the problem with 50 Shades is it's not as much about, like, consent and about, like, because there's a difference. In BDSM, it's not abuse. The dom is not abusing the submissive. The
I know that. I
submissive...
was
but for the audience.
Okay.
But, like, the submissive is allowing permission, and that's what the novel is more about, her allowing herself to fall into, like, being tied up and all this. And it's really, like, you read, I mean, honestly, I'll read one chapter and I have to put it down for a minute because I'm just like, whoa, shit. So yeah, highly recommended.
So do you specifically read it at home, or are you also reading it,
I'm
like,
just reading
on
it.
the bus?
I'm just reading it at home, but I also have it on my tablet, so it's not like someone's gonna go, "Oh, scandal!"
You're at, like, a Starbucks, and you're like, "Girl, get it!" And everyone's like, "What?" That's some good reading.
Yeah.
And then it becomes reading hour, where you're just like, you have everyone at Starbucks sitting around you on the floor.
Listen around, adults. And
And then he kissed the back of her neck.
I have a friend who writes romance novels, but, like, fantasy based and, like, Greek gods based, and, like, all that sort of. She even has a retelling of, like, the Adam and Eve story, like, as a modern thing. Cool. That's a romance thing. So, like, I'm aware of the genre, and I've read the fantasy based one. I was like, oh, I can see what's going on here.
What is this person's name, so we can look her up?
Amalia Dillon.
Cool.
I'll give you a link and put the link in the show notes.
Yeah.
John, where have you been doing?
So I did a D&D game last night, but I was the DM, and it was very fun, but it was a lot of work, and I recommend giving yourself as much time as you need to do that, and don't be too hard on yourself. I'm still learning things and making mistakes, and just when I follow up with them afterwards, just to see their reaction of, like, how much fun they had, it was really cool. It was really cool and kind of encouraging because it's like, oh, they picked this up, they got this, and I made them retell what happened the last time, and just hearing how they picked up what I put down, so to speak, how they kind of approached it and what they got from it was really cool. So I recommend it. And I mean, D&D is really fun, and it's a little bit more fun to play than to create the thing because you're just there for the ride. But creating it's also pretty fun too. You're basically making a story, and you are doing game design in the process.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Are we ready to fight?
Yeah. Oh, I'm
Okay.
always ready to fight.
So today's battle kicks off Halloween month-ish thing after the hype.
Be a little more excited about it. I mean, we love Halloween.
I do love Halloween. That's why I do horror movies throughout the entire month of
Halloweenish in
October.
October.
I never know what to call it.
Yeah.
So the major theme of this month will be guest choice. So every guest that we're having on is picking the movie that we're covering, but we like to kick off Halloween with a battle. So this year, we've done Friday the 13th battles, we've done favorite horror movie battles, we've done worst horror movie battles, we've done a lot of things, and we're starting to
we did remake.
We did remake last year, that was fun.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of horror battles, and we're like, well, time to scrape the bottom of the barrel. What else can we figure out?
Hey.
And then Chewie came up with an idea that was
not bottom
way
of the
better
barrel.
than where I was going to go. If you would let me finish before you get all defensive. With romantic horror movies. And now, as interesting as that sounds, it was very tough to figure out romantic horror movies.
For some reason, it's really easy for me. Like I just
thought
list
it was.
things off the top of my brain, and then other people were like, "What do you mean romantic horror?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, it's a thing."
Well, that's kind of at first I was like, wait, what? Romantic horror? And then as I like,
Yeah, John immediately replied, I have no idea.
right, and then
And Chewie responded with pictures of Kenneth Branagh naked, which was
Yes.
that was
Covered
great.
in
But then like I saw those and I was like, oh, I see. Okay, and then I just went to one page over on Google and I was like, here's all of the ones that you should have thought of immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, bad movie fan.
Mine was not on any list, but I'm very excited to talk about it.
So wait, what are some of the ones on the list that we're not talking about?
So the ones that
Warm Bodies is
Warm
one.
Bodies.
Oh
is on
yeah, I
all
thought
of
of
them.
that one immediately too.
That one's in all of them.
Crimson Peak.
Crimson
Oh,
Peak
zombies.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything that's kind of gothic is based on romance.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I was trying. There's one major one that I was like, oh, I guess I'd be romantic, but I don't remember what it was.
since I'm not gonna be defending a movie. Like literally, the only horror movie on my shelf was Brotherhood of the Wolf, and I was like, "That's a romantic horror movie. I could have gone with that, kind of, but now I don't have to."
Yeah. Sweeney Todd was on a lot of lists.
Oh yeah, like it's weird.
That's a fucked up romance.
Yeah. Oh, wait till we get to my movie.
No, it was weird coming up with these because it was like at first, like you realize that you don't think about these horror movies quite in this way.
Hey, what are our movies?
Well, mine is Bram Stoker's Dracula from
Nice.
1992.
1992.
Mine is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
From?
I think 94.
Yeah, you do better than I'm going to do.
Mine is Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1992.
Nice. And I have Thirst from 2000.
I mean, there's when it happened in Korea and when it came here. So
That's
who
true.
knows?
Well, no, because his movies come over pretty quick. So
Split the difference.
yeah, it's 2000.
No, I didn't actually see Thirst, but I looked it up. So is there a Korean and an American version, or did they?
No, just a lot of Korean movies take like a year and a half to actually jump over.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
I have not seen Thirst or Frankenstein.
Most
but I've
people haven't seen
Well,
my movie.
we're going to convince you to watch them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or at least Thirst, because I'm going to win, because that's what confidence sounds like. But Emily is our judge today, if you cannot tell by her saying she's not watching anything. And we came with props this time that you can't
yeah.
see, but you can hear. Yeah. That
Oh.
sounds horrible to everyone in
That
their car.
sounds-
This is going to be so good.
That sounds so judgmental. Yeah. Basically, anyone on the 405 is just going to swerve a little bit like, whoa, God.
Libby, you said you're doing Buffy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just
Buffy.
didn't hear you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad. So not Rosemary's Baby. That's good because I was like, whoever picks Rosemary's Baby is just doomed.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's not
how,
exactly romantic.
That's how it was sold to me.
No, that's actually. I was very interested to hear someone defend that, but I wanted to give you the choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like it's made by a rapist, so I was just immediately gonna reject it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we also had The Collector on the table, which is kind of just torture porn and really fucked up. And I was like, well, I'm
yeah.
excited to see how he's going to defend this as a romantic horror movie. But then
Especially to someone who loathes torture porn.
yeah, it was going to be an interesting part there. But at least I got to watch it. That was, I mean, it is kind of like a fucked up Home Alone, and that part was cool.
Oh, yeah.
But the rest of it was
Right, who's going
a
first,
movie.
though?
Emily's the judge.
I want to hear about Frankenstein.
All right. Well, Frankenstein. right. Well, I'm going to start.
There we go.
It's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, directed and starring Kenneth Branagh from 1994. And it is considered one of the most faithful adaptations of the book, even though there are some liberties. Of course, it's a movie. But this is like fever Kenneth Branagh. Like, I am young, I am strong and gorgeous, and I am making these movies where I am king of Shakespeare, and now I'm going to do Frankenstein. And he held nothing back. The romance is just on the wall. There's like shades of red everywhere, specifically on the important characters like Helen Bonham, his brother in the movie, and the way it's used, just the set design with the triangles and these grand staircases that make no sense. It's like you're watching an opera on camera. And, oh, sorry. Get a wiggle out. I know I'm losing time. I always do this in these things. And the movie is so passionate. It's all, like, you can't contain Victor's, like, passion for science and his passion for his soon-to-be wife's lover, played by Helen. I always forget her name in the movie. So at first he's a little conflicted on which one he wants to concentrate on, and she says, no, go be a scientist, go be a doctor. So he goes and does that, and he just becomes obsessed with death, because it's Victor Frankenstein. And he's like, I'm going to end all death because of how much he loves everyone around him, so he can't handle them dying anymore. So it's all about his love trying to stop this horrible thing from happening to people. And then, of course, when he figures out how to bring people back to life and create life, he feels bad, be like, oh, shouldn't have done that. And then you get into the huge conflict of the film, which is about a scientist versus a romantic, essentially. The Victor versus his monster. Someone who's all logic and the other one's that's all emotion. And it's the fighting together and against each other. And then it's also about what's more important. Is it my work or is it my love? And then Victor, kind of late in the game, chooses his love. And then he loses his love because the monster wants a lover, and then they fight over her. And it's kind of a gross moment when they're literally tugging at her going, she's mine. But it's still just... This movie is a fever film. The editing style, it was like pre-crazy late 90s editing. It was kind of ahead of its time in the way that they depicted the story, and it wastes no time. You actually don't get that much time to breathe because it's just going from epic scale to epic scale. When he's making the monster, Kenneth Branagh is... I mean, he's gorgeous in that sequence. He's got his leather pants on. He's running around.
He's making a monster in leather. He's a scientist who wears leather pants.
It
and
is
no shirt.
Historically accurate.
You guys, that's going to be tough to compete with that.
And he runs into the room wearing a big flowing cloak, and then he throws off the cloak.
Wait, is he still shirtless with the cloak on?
Yes. He throws off the cloak. He starts grabbing the chains, pushing around the monster, getting him to his thing that's filled with electric eels.
Ooh, that sounds homoerotic.
And then once he makes the monster, he pulls him out, and they're both covered in this goo, which you think
that's
about.
really homoerotic.
Yeah. And he's trying to lift him up, and it's a kind of an elongated sequence of them struggling with each other about trying to stand in this bio goo from the container. It's insane. So you got that really homoerotic sequence, and then once he finally gets married to Helen and they have their wedding night, the sequence of them fondling each other is intense. You actually start to feel like, I'm intruding right now. I should, you guys should have your moment. And then later on you found out that he was actually sleeping with her and cheating on his wife, but movies.
That's behind the scenes.
It was real passion, guys. Real passion.
Is it scary?
Yes
No.
and no. I mean, it was scarier when I was younger. Nowadays, it's not as scary, but it's very romantic because it really is. It's all about science versus emotions. Like, should you be doing this? Is this something you should be doing? Or should we just be with the ones we love and forget trying to create or control nature? I mean, which is what Frankenstein is at the heart of the story. And he does a pretty good job depicting that in the movie. It's very frantic. Like, you have to be able to watch the movie, otherwise you're going to miss plot points left and right. It's not slow at all. It's very fast. And I got 14 seconds left, and really, you should just watch it because, like, it is an opera. Like, he designed sets like it's an opera. It is sweeping, it is bold, it is romantic as fuck, really. and I highly recommend it. You might not love it, but it's worth a watch.
All right. So in the novel, can I have questions?
Yeah.
Okay. So in the novel, Dr. Frankenstein's kind of a dick. And the monster, there's a lot from the monster's perspective. Is the movie like that, or is the movie just okay?
So here's my thing: is that you say it's romantic because of everything that you just said. I don't need to repeat it, but you really made it sound like he was like, yeah, love or science, love. The movie I watched, which supposedly was the same one, he was all science. He could give no shits about his wife until the very end. Not to mention, you really breeze over the fact that his wife is his sister.
Not biological.
Still, they
She
grew up
doesn't-
together.
Wife is his sister.
Yeah,
She
they-
doesn't come to live with them until they're like 10.
They call each other brother and sister throughout the
Ew.
entire opening of the movie. It's gross as shit.
They're not
Some
actually
Lannister shit.
They're not
Yeah.
actually blood related, guys. It is not Lannister
But
sis.
still-
They're not twins.
Still, like, before he makes out, I was like, you're my sister, right? And she's like, uh-huh. And they're like, mwah, mwah, mwah. And it's like, ugh, why?
They were destined for each other.
It's gross.
Whatever.
And you also have
Pharaohs
Robert De
did
Niro as Frankenstein's monster, which it just ruins every scene with the monster.
He did a good job.
Because he can't shake his voice. He just sounds like Robert De Niro trying to be a monster.
That's just your hang up.
So all I hear...
You talking to me?
Yeah, that's all I hear. I hear you talking to me and
He
forget
does
about
not
it.
have a
I'm a
Brooklyn
monster
accent
over
in the
here.
movie. He does not.
But if he did,
He does not have an accent.
Hey, I'm walking
I would
over
watch
here.
the shit out of that.
You are just making that up.
More like
No, it's
Mary
still
Shelley's-
there. It bothered me the whole movie.
That's just you.
Now, doesn't the scientist in this movie still create a companion for the monster too?
Oh yeah, after his wife gets her heart ripped out.
He
turns-
literally rips out her heart
Yeah,
because he.
He's like, haha, jumps out the
Victor
window.
refuses to make him a companion. So
Right.
He's actually got a wonderful line. He says, if I'm not satisfied and you make me a companion, I will be with you on your wedding night. It's a great line in the movie. And then Victor's just dumb and doesn't take that to heart. And he goes off and gets married. And then, well, the monster comes in and rips her
so he
heart
does refuse to make
Yes.
the monster companion,
Yeah.
and then he comes and kills
Yeah.
Frankenstein's wife.
So
Yeah.
then he makes a monster companion for himself.
Because he
who
loves
then-
his wife so much, he immediately
No,
He's
he
putting
loves
her
the
in-
idea
he loves her
of a
so
wife
much.
he brings her
so
back to
much.
life.
that he's putting her in mortal danger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he loves
well-
the
From a
idea of
monster
having
that
a
he
wife.
created.
Yes, like it's
Well,
not
he's-
romantic. It's fucked up. He ruins that woman's life.
I've never said that Victor's the smartest man in the world. He's just a really good scientist, and he's really bad at following his heart. He is a slave to his logic, and he thinks that he'll win and he'll be okay. And he's not, because the other
Narcissist.
creature is driven by passion, which in the end, a lot of times passion is way stronger than science. And that's what is illustrated in the movie. Passion.
Sure, passion, fun, but then if Victor was a true romantic, he would have given the monster a passionate companion. They could have gone and had monster sex all over the place and not killed Victor's
That would
wife.
have broken the ice.
Yeah, and the
Well-
only reason he didn't do it was because it was a girl that he knew. So he makes the monster out of random people's like flesh to be reused, and then a girl dies, a girl that the monster
Well, his
finds
emotions,
attractive.
but that's because his emotions start to get in the way. Or
Yeah.
he had an emotional connection to this lady, so he doesn't want to
So-
make
but
her a
Also, you
slave to this
should-
other
yeah,
man.
you shouldn't just like be like, oh, guess what? I just brought you to life
What
so
hap-
you can bone this dude. That's fucked up.
That
Yeah.
is also fucked up.
True,
But he could have built her out of also reusable.
yeah.
Did you guys?
They could have had a moment. He
Did
could
you
have
guys-
built a companion and sent them on a date.
Because that was something they covered on Penny Dreadful. Like, Billy Piper's character was just like, she was made into Frankenstein's monster, and she was like, hey, fuck all of you, and became like this great feminist symbol because she basically was like, this is seriously fucked up. I'm not your whore. Fuck off.
Yeah, but that would have been better than what we got here, which was a girl who went, "Oh, wait, I'm a zombie thing. All right, I'm just gonna kill myself."
Actually, she kind of says that, but she also just gets incredibly upset by them fighting over her and then ends herself again.
Yeah, that's
and
real
she
romantic.
takes out the entire building with her. Her running through that hallway covered in flames and then everything else bursting into flames around her is like one of the greatest illustrations of female rage ever.
yeah,
sounds good.
it's cool, but I wouldn't say it's romantic.
But is it romantic?
It's super romantic. A woman covered in flames taking out everything around her. I kind of call that romantic.
There's a lot of Game of Thrones in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of Game of
There's a
Thrones
lot of different types of romance, and
really just made me think that Kenneth Branagh should have directed an episode of Game of Thrones
Yeah,
at some
man.
point.
God. I mean, honestly, I would love Kenneth Branagh to remake this movie as a more mature director And I think it would have been a much better film in that way. But
I don't think Kenneth Branagh is ever going to get more
Maybe
mature.
the lesson here is that Kenneth Branagh should never wear a shirt.
Yeah, I mean, those scenes were good.
I don't think he has that chiseled chest anymore. It's regretfully
I don't
so.
know.
I
Maybe,
do
maybe
like
we
the
should call him
idea.
and ask
Yeah,
for a
leather
selfie.
pants, no shirt, and a cloak. That is
Yeah.
a look.
It is. Oh, and the
Especially for a
long
scientist.
curly hair. The long curly hair. Don't
That's
forget
definitely
about that.
every scientist I've ever met could pull that off.
I mean, there's no amount of things you could say to like oversell that hair. Like that hair was really good. Like
We need to move on.
Yeah.
It's out of time.
I loved Buffy the TV show, so I would like to hear you talk about Buffy the movie, which is a completely different animal.
The movie is a completely different animal. You can start my time. All right, because the movie is epic and amazing, and every bit of it is perfect, I feel. And I just rewatched it last night, thinking that I should brush up on it. And the sad thing, and I know I'm wasting time to say this, the sad thing about it is not on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or Xfinity.
It
So
was at one point.
I thought so. So what's funny is I had to watch it as like a picture-in-picture on YouTube sped up, and everybody was talking real fast, and everybody got killed real fast, and there was so much like fast sexiness. But I just wanted to brush up, and then I watched, and I was like, oh, I've seen this movie 100 times. I know this movie. I know this very romantic movie. And Emily, having spoken to you just for moments before, I'm going to play to your personal preferences and tell you that it is not about the climactic moment. It's about getting there. It is about the seduction.
Oh.
You have a meet cute early in the movie. Luke Perry, Christy Swanson, Buffy, and Pike. They are hanging out in the movie theater with their friends. They're kind of dicks to each other. Frankly, everybody's a dick at the beginning of this movie because they don't have the maturity to realize that vampires are real and they're going to have to kill them, and there are more important things in life than going to movies and going shopping and being assholes. So they meet in that way, and then they have a few other little run-ins, one in a diner, which really is like way too seedy to be a place that high schoolers are hanging out. But Buffy does a real quick like ninja move and slices up Pike's best friend's hot dog, which like is like a badass I busted your wiener move, just pretty amazing. And like I feel like Pike sort of takes notice of her like badassery at that moment. And then of course Pike's friend Benny, played by David Arquette, becomes a vampire. He gets yoinked by the bad guys and becomes a vampire. And so Pike's just gonna like bail. And then Buffy saves his life in a beautiful moment of vampire slaying badassery, and they end up like beginning their seductive dance of romance towards their ultimate love. So Pike and Buffy end up sort of teaming up, although rather Pike is trying real hard to be the guy that wants to help Buffy and be part of this, knowing that she's clearly the boss. And she's always like, no, like you take off, you stay here, let me take care of this. But he's like preparing. So he's like a real good, like sidekick, support guy throughout. They have a moment in this battle where of course they land in the classic kiss moment where she's on top of him and they don't kiss in that moment, but they have that real close, sexy, heart-throbbing, leading up moment where they're really starting to fall for each other. I took notes.
A lot of notes.
I took notes last night. I was like, ooh, I got to remember the moments. And one of the reasons that I took notes, and I'll take two little hops because I only have a minute left, is because there are actually 3 love stories here. There's the classic romance between Buffy and Pike, the man and the woman who will ultimately end up together. There's Buffy's love for being a slayer and for combat, which is reluctant because in the beginning she's like, fuck you, I'm a cheerleader, I'm having a great time in high school, I love shopping, I'm not killing vampires, that sucks. And then Merrick, her mentor, starts putting her on open graves, which is super sketchy, but by realizing that vampires are real and that she has like some fucking badass skills to kill them, she falls in love with the idea that she is the chosen one and that she has to kill these vampires and that she has to save her high school and her town. And then she tries to stay at cheer practice, but ends up finally like abandoning her high school quote responsibilities so she can train and become the badassest slayer ever because she is the chosen one. And Lothos, the head vampire who's been destroying slayers for centuries, is trying to seduce her as well so he can just kill her. But she's entirely too smart for him and has these moments from her mentor. And then the last little love story is Unrequited. Paul Rubin's character, which I only recently learned is Amelin. I don't think his name is ever said. He's like he's the Renfield. He's like the guy who's kowtowing to Lothos, but he's just like, love, 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 I'm doing things for you, I'm giving you things. And Lothos is like, fuck you, and he gets killed. So at the very end, there's the prom. All the seniors are invited. All the seniors are vampires, which is a big problem. Buffy says she's going to battle them alone, but Pike comes in to help. They all win, and everyone is madly in love. Ooh, 2 seconds left. Watch Buffy. But it's going to be hard to watch because you're going to have to watch it really fast on YouTube.
Just buy it on Amazon.
Buy it.
And I thought I owned it, and maybe I do, but I've moved so many times. It's probably in a DVD or VHS.
You always lose like at least a dozen DVDs in a move.
Right?
We have it on
That's why we just never
Blu-ray
unpack
DVD.
a bunch of DVDs. We just don't lose those.
Yeah.
Except then we don't see them, so kind of defeats the
All
purpose.
right, we got to take her down now.
Yep.
Is it scary?
It is not scary. It is gory. Not gory like in bloodbathy, but like there's a lot of stabbing. There's a lot of biting. There's a lot of vampire-y things. Amelin loses an arm, which is fun. It's a comedy horror.
Oh,
I was about to
it's
say,
very much comedy.
What makes it a horror movie as versus just sort of like a mild action movie that's funny?
Because it's still vampires. It's still like pulling from the classic horror tropes of the Lothos, who's like the Vlad Dracul, and his, minion, Amelin, who's like the Renfield, and he's still converting vampires all over the place, and these vampires are converging on everyone. The town will be destroyed. So you still have the fear of the whole town becoming vampires or dead, but not the terror, because otherwise I'd have to watch it with my hands over my eyes because I'm scared.
There is a lack of actual terror in the movie. It is very much more comedy, and it is so early 90s.
Yes.
If you can't
Yeah.
handle...
Neon squiggles everywhere.
And one thing that always annoys me in this movie that is not very romantic, it's kind of a weird misogynistic thing that they got rid of with the TV show, is she feels menstrual cramps when she's near vampires.
That is true.
And every time I'm like, really?
That's a horrific
What?
spider sense.
It is a horrific spider sense, but it's still her power because it's her warning sign. And even though I agree that's a real problem and I would take some drugs for that, because I would find that very
Can
frustrating.
we have a different type of warning signal, guys?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I do, however, feel that like the whole movie's very consensual, unlike most other horror films that are like very rapey and creaty and steely of women. And Buffy's like clearly leading the charge throughout the whole movie, despite her frustrations with cramps. Which, frankly, is the thing we all do, right?
Trying to think of ways to take this movie
Yeah,
down.
it's a rough one to take down. But like the major thing that I have for it is that as much as you said it was romantic, I don't really see a lot of romance in the movie. Like it does, like it plays up like the high school romance in a way, but it's also kind of like,
It's
It
a
kinda-
situational
steps us-
romance.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very like speed.
Yeah.
It kind of steps aside for the stabby bits, the vampire-y bits.
I just think it's more of like what you were saying with Speed, of you're going to be in love during the sequence, but the moment the adrenaline rush is gone, you might not be very compatible.
Yeah, like I see Luke Perry riding out of town. Like,
Well,
She
they
rode out of
do ride out of town.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm sorry, I hit the mic. They do ride out. I'm getting so animated
Yeah.
that now I'm just like whacking everything. I'll put my hands down. They do ride out of town together, ride off into the sunrise on the motorcycle. And the curious thing that I was ruminating on this morning is that she clearly can drive a motorcycle, and so can Luke Perry. And even though she's like completely leading the charge all the way throughout the movie, at the very end, she gets on the back of his bike, which for a minute I was like, I don't know if I like that. But I kind of do, because I've had a lot of like, when you have a partnership with somebody and you like really love somebody, then like sometimes you want to take the reins and sometimes you want to submit and have them take the reins. And she's just like spent her whole week fucking killing vampires. And so now it's like, oh, I'm going to take care of you for a minute. You chill.
yeah, that's nice. But
So nice.
I never got the
So beautiful.
I never bought their chemistry, even like from the beginning. Like,
And
I
Luke
never.
Perry's hair is terrible, by the way. way.
That must be why I never
I'm
bought the
looking
chemist.
at
It's all
Those
about
weird
right now.
Caesar
It's all about the
haircut
hair.
bangs. I don't understand why that was ever a thing in the 90s.
Well, he
and
has
the
an
soul
enormous
patch.
forehead. He's
Yeah.
got to cover it up.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in my movie, there's nothing but great hair.
I mean, at the end of the day, they're still high schoolers too. It's
Yeah.
it's a
That's
sweet
true.
high school romance, but you have her love affair with her chosen status as the one true slayer throughout the centuries.
I could probably see that if that was more of like that was the crux of the whole thing, being like, oh, you either are a slayer and love it, or give it up and have normal life, like that, like really strong, like more that's the whole thing, not necessarily the lothos and all that.
Yeah, she had the opportunity. She tried to step away from it, but she was drawn to it.
I think you can never say no to being a slayer. Like,
But that's the thing;
vampires
it's like
will
an
just
easy
follow
choice,
you.
right? Like if it's the easiest choice, it's like I don't know if that's romantic.
I mean,
necessarily.
ultimately, if you're chosen and you say no, then the vampire just kills you, and then you're dead, right? Or you're a vampire.
It's always like, is there romance in being the one, or are you just like, crap? Well, now this is what I have to do.
I guess this is my life now.
It's a little both. It's the romantic idea of having a calling, whether you choose to accept it or not.
Faith kind of refused to be a slayer for a while. She ended up
She had a
siding
very
with
sad
the,
life, though.
the mayor and
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
Who's
it's a lot.
next?
It's a lot of responsibility.
Faith is the reason Brian stopped watching Buffy.
She sure is. Not a fan of that character. That, and I tried binge watching.
redemption
It's a
was
rough show to binge watch, I think.
that's the show I watch when I'm sad and
Yeah.
maybe as a second time through. Like the first time, that was the only way I watched it was binging, just because I'd never seen it. I'd heard of it, but nothing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if I'm having a really shit day and everything's gone to hell, I'll put in the Zeppo. Like that's that's the episode about Xander.
I mean, it's a incredibly charming show, and I
Yeah.
thought it was really good. After watching it for like 3 weeks straight, I'm like, all right, I'm just done.
Well,
I
I
got
also
it.
pressured you into it.
Yeah, you sure did.
It is an excellent show.
It
I
is.
still have to say that the movie is my favorite. Like, if I had to choose between the show and the movie, I would choose the movie all the time.
Interesting.
I say that all the time, and people get really mad at me.
Oh, good.
I
Well,
love both equally.
We should move on.
John.
It's
Or-
Emily's
Yeah,
choice.
I was gonna. I'm curious about that, but I feel like let's save that for last.
Okay.
Let's hit it. Let's get to Dracula.
Dracula.
Is that isn't? I didn't make that pronunciation.
Bram,
but
it's
that's
it's
Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Dracula. It is a story about two lovers bound by time and divided by death and damnation. And it is bookended by death and damnation and redemption. So like this is the story of Dracula and I forget the name of the lover, but it's Winona Ryder for sake of shorthand. So he is a great soldier for the church, a fighter. He kills violently, and he does everything the church asks. And in the end, the Turks, I think it is, they trick his lover to thinking he's dead, and she commits suicide. But because she kills herself, that is a damnable offense, and she will never make it to the afterlife. She will never see her lover Dracula again. And instead of, like, for all his service, he curses God. He curses the church, and he drinks, like, he stabs the cross and curses it and says, I'm done with God, I defy you. And blood erupts from the cross, and he drinks it. And it creates this kind of circular thing of thirst and damnation. And basically, the whole meat and the juice of the middle of this movie is power, control, agency, and just what that is in relation to choosing to defy, in this case, God, the church, and all that, and just what damnation means. And a lot of it is every character has to wrestle with their agency and what that means, how they take control of their lives, and just the kind of the perversion of this love that bookends the movie. And that's really all that vampires or Dracula, like this whole like vampirism, stems from, is just wanting to be God, wanting to control the weather, control the elements, control creatures, mankind, earth, and just a twist on that, and how that then you want to control people. You want to consume and subvert and subjugate people, and it's just this wrestling and toil in the middle of that, bookended by this love story. So at the same time, and what kind of ties it in for me to the horror element of the romance, is that this is not pretty. It is kind of icky. And it makes you kind of like, this is not good. What, like Dracula sets his sight on Mina Harker. And as he basically takes Jonathan Harker aside, kind of feeds him to his
He basically gets raped.
Yeah, he gets raped, and that's watching this again. It made me realize, like, holy crap! Because at first I was like, I just don't like how the movie treats its women. But then as I backed up and watched this again, I was like, hold on, this movie is treating everyone. This is too reductive to say it, but almost like everyone is getting raped in some way of this. And what was fascinating is just how this is so still tied into this love story on both ends of this, of Dracula wanting to meet his lover again, and he sees her in Mina, and just this complicated relationship. And I think that's what, for me, started to kind of scare me more watching this again, kind of give me this sense of dread, is that, like, these people lose control of themselves and have it taken away. And in Mina's case, she kind of comes to it and is kind of drawn to it, is seduced by it, even though it's, like, bad. And for me, her journey kind of freaked me out this time around, even though this is all in the midst of, like, 90s effects and bombastic scores and just beautiful art direction, but very, still kind of like 90s, a lot of, fades on the screen, things like that. Just affects you, like, oh, this is a 90s movie. But then I'm just like, this dread of just like, the only thing keeping me from control of myself is just like this, or like, I don't know, this power beyond mine that could make me just a mindless person who, like, wants this thing but shouldn't want it. I don't know. I think that's, for me, the essence of this horror romance is, like, you kind of you're seduced by it, but you're also horrified by it. And just with the whole kind of the set design, the characters, and just how they all interact, it's scary. And the movie also does some, I think it has a better balance of its kind of cheesier elements that you might see in, like, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where, like, there are funny moments. Anthony Hopkins is Van Helsing, and he, to express what happens to Lucy, Mina's friend, who gets so, like, she gets the brunt of it, and I feel so bad for her. But it's also the crux of, like, Dracula he can damn people, he can end them, and just out of whim, out of passion. But he just, like, as an example, what vampires do, he just runs up to a guy and starts humping him, like, she's a bitch of the damned, and he's so ribald and, like, kind of vulgar as a scientist. And yeah, it's just so rough.
Do you feel like, you mentioned Lucy, do you feel like this movie punishes Lucy for being a slut while not having the same kind of punishment for everyone else for sexual activity?
Yes.
I mean, that's kind of the basis of Dracula in general. It's the fear of women losing their virginity and becoming sex monsters. It's representative in the blood, and the moment they have sex, then suddenly their bosoms are uncontained and just out there and pushed up in their flowy clothes.
I love that sentence. Their bosoms are uncontained.
It's like every time, moment each woman becomes a vampire in this movie, suddenly their boobs are huge.
Oh, yeah.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all over. I mean, it's Coppola.
Yeah.
And I mean, love is messy, granted. Vampirism is super messy.
Mm-hmm.
But is it romantic when you, like, see the object of your desire and you go on a fucking and killing spree and terrorize that woman who's married to someone else?
Who doesn't know she's in this
Who
relationship.
doesn't know she's in this relationship. You fucking and kill her best friend and all of her friends and her husband.
Don't worry, you'll grow to like it.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, and I think that's why it...
Get in the coffin. We're going to be in love.
Yeah. And I think that's where the horror element comes in, as both a horror romance, is that it's horrifying, and there's elements that are horrific in that. And I think that's what really kind of makes this, like, not just be... without some of these other elements together all in one whole, I think it would just be like, this is exploitative and awful. And it's like, this is still awful, but it's the horror part of the romance.
So you don't think this movie portrays this as, like, some kind of true, like, love across the centuries or whatever?
I think their love across the centuries is true.
You keep saying their love. It's not their love. It's
not,
his
it's his
love.
love.
She
That's
has,
what I mean. Do you
yeah.
feel like the movie presents it in a way that we're supposed to feel like they're in love? Or
No,
is the
you
movie...
get that Dracula loves her. She has no fucking clue who he is.
Yeah.
And whenever he wants her to, he makes her.
He's an impassioned sociopathic monster.
Like the whole, like, see me, and then she has no choice but then to see him. Like it's all very controlled. Like this is not romantic or love. This is a guy being a predator. Like he is a monster who is hunting someone. Like that is the nature of the character. So it might have been a romance back in the day. That you're absolutely right. They were definitely
Well,
in
the
love.
novel
but-
was a series of letters written by Jonathan Harker, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So it
And-
probably wouldn't have seemed romantic. I never
yeah.
finished reading it, but
it's a great book. But it never felt romantic to me. It felt like that it's a classic and it's a very well told story and it's a very tragic story. But that doesn't mean that because the romance for me would be them in love, and they're not. Like the love story is between Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder, and they don't really spend any time in that. So instead, you get Gary Oldman hunting Winona Ryder,
Yeah.
and
then
that's not romantic.
Once she's kind of in love with him, once he starts feeding on her, is when she starts to go to Sexy Town, and then she becomes terrifying because she's sexually aroused for the rest of the movie. Essentially, she looks like she's stuck in a constant state of arousal,
And her bosoms are uncontained.
Her bosoms are
Bosoms are
uncontained.
uncontained.
And Keanu Reeves' character is just like, no, stop it, and like trying to hold her down.
Well, and let's not forget that Dracula, before he even becomes a vampire, is also on killing sprees in the name of the church, which is questionable in itself.
he hoists
And-
people on petards and shit. It's
Yeah,
gross.
and leaves his lover, Elisabetta, at home alone to hang out and kill herself while he's on a killing spree for the church. That's not a good partnership. That's not romance.
That's not what you put on like Tinder dates. I will leave you to go on a killing spree.
I mean-
I am in love romantically with killing people.
That's what my profile says. It might be why I've never been on a Tinder date.
You might find one. Stay away from
Yeah,
that one.
stay away from that one.
I think for the end, when she finally kills him and closes the loop, as it were, I think
No,
that
we're watching Looper.
I think that saves that for me, and that's why like all the problems that you mentioned in the middle, like, kind of have context for me and make sense. Is in that moment she does see kind of the full, like, because she does see the fullness of, like, she kind of sees Elisabetta and all that, and kind of sees that relationship there. And I think
she just sees his point of view. Like she has empathy for where he's coming from. That doesn't mean that she reciprocates.
Yeah, recognizing the motives of a serial killer and loving and having a romance with that serial killer are different.
Hannibal, the TV show, killing with romance. I'm saying, like, there's that sense of, like, it's a weird, complicated relationship with awful people, and I think that by her
wasn't
empathy,
awful.
She didn't start out
She
awful.
became he made her awful.
yeah.
now I'm thinking about how interesting a choice the Red Dragon would have been for this
Yeah.
thing.
I just want to go on for Manhunter.
Yeah, that too.
I've never seen Manhunter.
It's
really good.
fantastic.
No, I
It's
haven't
really good.
It's
either.
weird watching Silence of the or fuck's his name, Hannibal
Hannibal.
Lecter without
Brian
Anthony-
Cox.
Yeah.
Or Anthony Hopkins.
without Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
It's weird watching the first person's take.
Yeah,
on
that's-
it.
I
I
like
think that's the
Brian
one I haven't
Cox
seen.
doing it. He's less
Yeah.
like he eats less scenery when
Yeah,
he's
I
doing
thought
it.
he did a really good job. I like Mads
Eats more
Mikkelsen.
people and less scenery.
So it's last but not
All
least.
right.
Yeah, go
Are you
for it.
thirsty for victory, Brian?
I'm gonna do what I can. So the problem with Thirst, I'm gonna get it right out of the way. Is that it's a very tragic romance. Like, this is a movie when you're watching it, it's not very romantic. Like the crux of it is that these two are terrible for each other. So that's just on its sleeve from the beginning. The thing that works about it and why I still think it's a romantic movie is because it is all a victim of circumstance. So these two people do horrible things to each other the whole way through the movie. Like, they are poison for each other, but it is they make it clear throughout the movie that if they had met in a different circumstance, they would have been perfect. Like, they bring out both the best and the worst in each other, and that's important as I go through what's about to happen in this movie. You need to remember that, or it's going to sound real bad. So Thirst is about a priest who wants to help people, and to do that, he goes to Africa where there's this horrible plague that only affects men, but he wants to help people, so he goes. He gets the plague, he dies, they give him a blood transfusion, whoops, vampire blood, and now he's a vampire. So he comes back to where he's from, and everyone thinks that he is like a god, because he's the only person who survived this plague. And through this, he basically finds somebody who has cancer, they ask him to pray for him, he says yes, they invite him over to dinner. While at dinner, he meets that guy's wife. This girl was brought up in this house, was abused. They didn't like her she had to share the mom's bed. And then when it got time for her to be married, she's like, well, just go sleep in my son's bedroom. And so she's forced to go over there. So she's horribly unhappy and forced to marry this guy. The priest just wanted to help people. The only way that he knew how to do it was to become a priest. He doesn't want to be a priest, but that's the only way he knows how to help people. So they're both in these situations they don't want to be in. So the priest doesn't want to hurt anybody, which is very problematic for a vampire. So the way that he does it is he goes to people getting blood transfusions, takes the blood, drinks it, and then puts it back in. So they don't become a vampire. He still gets to be alive. If he does not drink that blood, the plague comes back and he dies. So he constantly has to drink blood or he will die. Kind of like a vampire, but a little bit worse because he's not just going to starve to death. He's going to die of a plague. Through many circumstances, the girl who does not want to be married to this guy convinces the priest that her husband is beating her. So he goes, all right, well, fuck that guy. I'm a vampire. I need blood. I'm going to kill him. So he kills her husband, and now they are together. He then finds out that she convinced him to kill somebody who was technically innocent. He doesn't take that very well. There's a lot of violence, lots of problems, but eventually he converts her into being a vampire, and you have these wonderful moments where like things are actually okay for a little bit, and like you can see what the relationship could have been, and it's just touching and it's sweet. And she's like, can we jump off this building? He's like, yeah, we can jump off this building. They jump off the building together, and she's laughing and having a great time. It's like, oh, this could have been so good, but you're dumb. And they start killing all of their friends, and they paint their entire apartment white so it looks cooler when blood gets splattered everywhere because they get into that. And it just kind of gets worse and worse and worse. And you realize that as well as they can bring out the best in each other, they can bring out the worst. And the worse it gets, it's just a snowball. And they start killing more people. And the priest has a problem with that because he never actually wanted to hurt anybody. He just wanted to be a good person. And she just wanted to be free. And now that she's not only free, she's free with superpowers and doesn't care about humanity anymore. She just goes way off the rails and starts like standing in the highway to get hit by cars so that when they come out to go, oh my God, are you okay? She goes, yeah, I'm okay. How about I just drink all your blood? And she murders the fuck out of more people, and it just goes crazier and crazier and crazier till eventually he's like, nope, this is wrong. We're not doing this right. I'm going to kill us both. And he takes her to a cliff at sunrise, and he basically like, he's like, this is what we're doing. And she tries everything she can to try to like hide in the trunk. He throws the trunk into the ocean. She tries to hide in the car. He pushes the car away. He's like, nope, this is what we're doing. And instead of running away or fighting him, she realizes what he's doing is right, even though she doesn't want to die. And they hold each other and they wait for the sun to rise, and they both burn. And it's like, it's just tragic. Like, and it's just sad and it's heartbreaking. And it's more heartbreaking because we got that one scene where they were so good together. And it's like, fuck, man. Stupid vampires ruin everything. That's all I have. I feel like that was my pitch. So I'm going to stop a little early. You got 30 seconds left.
Is it scary?
Yeah, it's really fucking creepy. The whole movie is just, it just has us like, it's not that it's scary like a Wes Craven or like something like that.
Is there dread?
Yeah, you just have this like uncomfortable like horror element to it where everything you're seeing feels off and it's gross and it's bloody. Whenever they get the plague, these gross boils all over them. Like it's just, it's unnerving. Like, so it's not like a horror, classic horror where like you're going to go to bed and have nightmares, but it's like, it makes you on edge the whole time you're watching it. No matter what the scene is, the whole thing is just kind of, And there's lots of ghosts. After they kill the guy, he shows up and haunts them a lot.
What? There's ghosts too?
Ghosts
Well,
too.
they constantly see her dead husband like in the room with them. Like they're trying to have sex at one point, and he's in between them, just smiling. Like, this is weird.
So
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's visually like,
if she's wanting freedom, and then he converts her into a vampire, isn't he just kind of giving her a new prison?
Well, that's
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of the problem is that she doesn't. All she knows is she doesn't want to be in that house anymore, and she wants to be a vampire. She wants to be a vampire.
Wait,
he
but
doesn't want to turn.
why does she want to be a vampire? Because she could get freedom in a wide variety of ways without becoming a vampire.
They make it pretty clear in the beginning that because of her upbringing and where she's from, that she really only has the option of staying in this family. She has nothing. Like, she's very stuck in this family. Like, she's supposed to take over the shop when the mom dies. Like, she can't get out. It's one of those economical, I'm stuck here situations.
And then after becoming a vampire, is it necessary for her to have killed her innocent former husband? She could have just left, right?
Oh, she could have. She won't.
Wait, so he turns her into a vampire before he kills?
No. He kills the husband, and then she turns into a vampire.
Okay, but he could have just turned her into a vampire, and they could have left and gone drinking transfusion blood, right?
Yeah, they could have, but she doesn't want to drink transfusion blood. She wants to drink.
Because she's a horrible person.
Because she goes nuts.
And you can have like a sweet, awesome, sexy night with somebody, but that doesn't mean that like you're made for each other forever. It sounds like they're definitely not made for each other in any way, except for having a hot one night stand.
It's not even a hot one night. It's not sexy. Like the all the sex happens before they turn into vampires. Like all like that romance, like that sort of stuff.
Or
So they're not fucking on top of bodies in
No.
like a pool of
hot
blood.
one night adventure of
It's
vampire skills.
it's adorable. Like
An adorable one night adventure.
Like he sounds like he's like stuck in like the weirdest I'm a nice guy thing ever. Where he's like always making like I'm a nice guy and make these terrible decisions, but I'm a nice guy.
Yeah.
he is a nice guy.
On a random side note, when you're giving someone blood transfusions, shouldn't you, like the way you would test for AIDS, shouldn't you test for vampire blood before accidentally
You should go to a hospital and ask that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you test for?
Do you
for
test
vampire?
for
Like, do you like
vampire
hold it in the sun for like 1 second? If it lights on fire, like, oh, not giving that one.
I mean, it seems perfectly reasonable.
Next time I go in to give blood, I'm gonna be like, "Are you guys gonna test for
Are you
for
gonna
vampire?"
test for- yeah, please.
It is October. This is
Right.
kind of on the rise.
I've said my piece.
You guys are supposed to be criticizing this movie.
Hey.
Yeah, it's
I-
a tough movie to criticize because it's fucking awesome.
It's also the scariest one on the table.
Yeah, it is. It's done by the same guy who did Old Boy and Lady Vengeance and
Oh,
Stoker.
shit.
and-
Yeah, but isn't it
He's
so much
amazing.
horror
And
and not
Handmaiden.
enough romance? Because
That's,
there's that, like,
Chang.
I don't-
The,
Yes.
the romance is tough in the movie. It's
It
very
is.
true.
It's a
about
tough...
a man and a woman, but
yeah, but that doesn't mean they're in love.
Oh, they're definitely in love. I mean, at least they say it all the time, but like you can tell that because otherwise she'd leave or he'd leave her. Like they make it very clear, like they want each other in their lives, but they can't figure out how to do it. And that's why I say it's tragic. Like, because clearly, like they want each other. They really want it, and one night they get it to work.
and is it lust-based love or is there
In the
more-
beginning, yes. In the beginning, it's because he's a priest. He's never slept with anyone before. Like, he even has the line, I've never kissed anyone before until now, and he goes for it.
Yeah, you can't just
kinda
stay
cute.
with your
Yeah.
first kiss forever. I mean, rarely.
Yeah,
That's-
but like,
that doesn't-
So, he's a nice guy who also rescinds his vows of celibacy.
oh yeah, but like I said, he didn't want to be a priest. Like, it was the best way he could try to figure out to help people. She didn't want to be a captive in this house, but that's how it ended up. It's a really tragic of circumstance. If other circumstances happened, I don't think it would have gone as violently. That could be the hopeless romantic in me, but I don't think it would have. If they'd met otherwise. You
I
know?
wonder what their painting bill was, though. If they had to keep repainting their walls white every time they killed somebody.
I mean, they really only go on one super killing spree where the walls get
And I
fucked
mean,
up.
does being madly in love mean destroying everyone around you, all your friends?
I mean, if it's a
Sometimes.
toxic relationship, yes. Because if it's a toxic relationship, you don't actually like hanging out with them anymore.
I mean, that's the sort of wedding I would not want to attend. We were talking about weddings earlier and how hard it is to
It's
get
an open
like,
vein wedding.
get all
We're
your
saving
friends.
a lot of money on our vendors by not hiring our caterer. We're just gonna eat you.
Like, why is there no food at this
We're
wedding?
just get
Oh.
Why'd you? Oh, fuck, I'm food, aren't I?
Oh, no. Should have had the outside wedding. Oh.
Well, that's it.
Well,
Can I hear everybody give me like one sentence about why your movie is the best?
Consent. One word. One word.
An uncommon.
One
theme.
word. Consent.
Mine is about the passion of youth and how it can also be misguided.
fated love, perverted.
These are not sentences. You
Yeah,
guys
these
are
are
not
just
doing
words.
sentences.
It's poetic.
My movie is the best because it depicts tragic romance the best. Got best twice in one sentence.
All right, Trump.
Whoa. I didn't say it was bigly.
The big ocean, the big water.
Mine should win, otherwise I'll be sad.
The fangs are bigly.
All right. It sounds okay. So I'm gonna whittle it down here because Frankenstein sounds like its really redeeming quality is that Kenneth Branagh is hot.
And it's grand. There's the grandiose of my movie. Like, that's where it's about the passion of youth, because it was about a man who was misguided in his youth with his passions, and just the way Kenneth Branagh directed it was
And
him
he wants
being
to
a
bang
little...
his sister. Don't forget about that.
Right,
Don't forget
sister
about
thing,
that.
Yeah.
And the way the movie's presented is so young Kenneth Branagh be like, I am just amazing, and then he made some mistakes that the
you
movie
should really-
could have been better.
I'd love to ask Kenneth Branagh who's the coolest person in the world. Because if he doesn't say Kenneth Branagh, I am disappointed.
He tilts his head off to like a canted angle and be like, "Me."
I hope he still
Kenneth
has
Branagh?
his mustache from Orient Express and goes
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh and strokes it.
I can imagine when he was married to Emma Thompson, just the constant drama that must have just gone on in that
He
house.
has to be the biggest pain in the ass. You didn't do the dishes today!
I wanted pancakes.
But then her too, man.
Oh, totally.
It's like, fuck your pancakes.
They'd be the best.
Actually, I
neighbors.
want that movie. Someone make that movie.
Yeah. You
All
think
right,
it was just like
on
a
to somebody
Beatrice
else's
and
movie,
Benedict
though.
Okay.
continuation?
Before I just win, because that's what we want to talk about.
Blah.
Yeah, that's not, I don't think Frankenstein's winning.
No,
I know
fine.
Frankenstein's not winning.
puh.
Sorry. All right. Mine. Oh yeah. Okay. It's it. No Frankenstein.
We need to get a block of wood for that thing to hit.
Yeah, right. Oh, there's a little. I don't know if you can tap on that box
Let me
next to the
see.
duct tape.
Because this is important.
Just hit the microphone.
I'm a
really hard.
percussionist, so I'm always looking around the room
Oh.
for things I can hit.
Give that a go.
I love Buffy so much. And
Yay,
I
Buffy!
I do love. A movie. It's the only movie on the table where a woman is just like, rawr, you know.
Her choice.
Her choice, yeah. And but my thing about Buffy is, yeah, it's not much of a horror movie. Like, there's no dread. It's just fun, and I don't know.
I really.
Retros Hewer's makeup is horrible.
Yeah. There's a lot of horrific elements. Neon squiggles, mall bangs.
Hilary Swank talking like a valley girl.
Yes.
Oh, Hilary Swank's in that movie.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. That's pretty cool.
Oh
Ben
yeah.
Affleck's first role where he hands a ball to a
Yeah.
vampire.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's why I was like, if
Oh,
I work
yeah.
with Ben Affleck, I'm going to get him to
Stop,
sign
we're helping him.
Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say about Frankenstein. I do give you points for being the only person here who didn't choose a vampire movie.
Yeah, that was-
Yes.
That's true.
I was between two vampire movies.
Paul Rubens, a little horrific. Paul Rubens dying all day long. Dying all the way.
Honestly, it's one of the best death scenes ever.
Dying all the way through the credits. Beautiful and horrific simultaneously.
Yeah, I do love Buffy, but it's not really a horror movie to me. It's more of a comedy with some horror elements. So but I do love Buffy so much, and the TV show is one of my favorites. But I'm gonna say no to Buffy.
All right.
I'm
As
sorry.
long I really can't dispute that it's not horror because I'm too easily scared to watch true horror. I only watch comedy horror.
I thought
But
you said yes to everything.
I do say yes to everything.
She says yes, but.
But I told you I watch it through my fingers with my hands over my eyes. I'm
Why
like,
is the cinematography so foggy?
yeah. What weird choices they're making. As long as we all agree that we love Buffy,
We
then,
love
then,
Buffy.
then
Yeah.
I'm okay
Great
with that.
movie.
All
All right.
It is great. Okay,
Why we
so
bought it twice.
I want to do the same thing that Brian did last time and like put the last two movies against each other directly because I do love Dracula, but theirs sounds kind of awesome. So
fucking awesome.
yeah, so I want to hear you guys like take. What did you do last time? You gave like
I said 30 seconds to say why the other movie is garbage.
I like that. Let's
Okay.
do that.
Should I set a timer?
Oh, all right. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, you're asking me. I forgot. Let's let you go first since you went last before.
So 30 seconds on why Dracula sucks.
Yeah.
I think I already kind of covered it when I was doing the question part of this, but Dracula sucks because it is just such a one-sided romance. Like, it is all about one guy going, oh, girl, and then just pursuing her, like throwing all caution in the wind, whether or not she's into it, which she's clearly not until he starts like playing mind games on her, and then she goes fucking nuts for it. It misses the point of being a romantic horror movie because it's just all about what the guy wants. Mic drop.
Don't drop our mic.
Yeah, they're kind of expensive.
Which are secured on stands.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. Otherwise, I'd drop them all the time.
You have to unscrew all of the little wing nuts.
Hang on, I got it.
Hold-
It's going to be
hold
cool.
on.
Hold on. All right. You ready?
Yep. I think it's whatever Brian said about mine, but in reverse. I think she is the Dracula in this, and it's very one-sided on hers, and I don't necessarily buy his love for her in that one moment. I think it's it's that one flash pan moment that fizzles out in the same way that they burn up at the end. just kind of the reverse of that for me.
Brian is way better at arguing than you are.
You didn't even say mic drop.
I don't want to drop this mic.
I do enjoy Dracula very much. It's fun. I feel bad for Lucy. I feel like Lucy got the real, like, of all the people
She
in
really
that
got
movie.
fucked in like every way possible.
Like,
Literally,
she gets-
figuratively, and every
she
other.
gets-
Did get to look
Slut-shamed
really good
spiritually.
in that red dress with her bosoms being
She
uncontained.
did.
Big fan of that word, bosom.
Uncontained
word.
bosoms.
Yeah.
we should
That's
we
why
should
there's a
start
show
that
called
band.
Bosom
probably.
Buddies. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
it's catchy.
It'll be a band called the Renfield and the Uncontained Bosoms. And it's just Tom Waits singing. Right?
That's fucking awesome.
I'll buy 8 tickets for that.
I frequently wonder whether Tom Waits and Cookie Monster are the same person.
Why do you wonder? I think it's pretty much just confirmed, isn't it?
Is it?
I have no idea.
So we need to go offer Tom Waits some cookies.
Hashtag confirmed.
So I think in the end, Thirst just sounds super cool.
It is.
It sounds like a movie I'd really like to watch, and it sounds both scary and romantic and creepy, and like it meets the needs of this particular episode. And
Boom.
so I'm gonna say, all of these movies sound really good. You all did an awesome job. I'm definitely gonna watch Frankenstein so I can watch Hot Kenneth Branagh. I'm gonna try to find Buffy again because I forgot how awesome Buffy the
Yeah.
movie
You can just,
is.
Really
you can
fucking
just
good.
borrow our copies of both.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
both Blu-ray and DVD.
We've been in-
I've seen Dracula like 1,000 times, but I'd always watch it again because Gary Oldman is fucking awesome. But I'm gonna give it to Thirst, you guys.
Ooh. So in the beginning when I said it's going to win, I was right.
You're right.
Everyone sounds
I
so
mean-
annoyed by
I
that.
mean,
I mean, I wish,
I'm not happy
Yeah,
about it.
I haven't
I
won
wish
in a
my
while,
movie
so-
was scarier.
This was one of those battles where it was like, I actually wanted to like go through and watch every movie as soon as possible.
yeah.
Whereas like that's partially why I'm so tired, because it's like I actually made time to watch these movies. I'm like, fuck, I need to sleep. But these movies,
Yeah, but I mean, mine has a Kang Ho song in it, and I will watch any movie with him
It's
in
true.
it.
He is one of the greatest actors.
He's one of the greatest
He's
actors working.
amazing.
He's so good.
It makes me sad that he can't really speak English because
He can.
Can he?
Yeah, he's not the best at it, but in that movie I wanted to go see tomorrow, maybe Taxi Driver, he speaks English.
Oh, see, I just kind of thought that was the only thing holding him back from the American market.
I just don't think he wants to be in the American
Yeah,
market. I mean, it's up to
I guess
don't blame
we're not the
him.
best to our Asian actors.
him. No, we're not.
I mean, that's the other thing is I feel like Korean film is just doing things that American films aren't like courageous enough to do in a lot of
yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
They let their characters do really horrific things
Yeah.
that an American filmmaker would be like, whoa, we can't go that far. You know,
Well, and
for
that's
most
the
part.
hardest thing to argue, like to even want to argue against Thirst. Or no, like for real, you could have just said Thirst, and I'd have been like, not arguing against that.
See, when I was watching, I'm like, this is gonna be a tough sell as romantic because I think it is, but it's like
an anti-romance, though.
It is,
It's
yeah.
brutal.
It's
And I actually
brutal,
haven't watched it because
Yeah.
I didn't even know it existed until yesterday when I found out it was
Yeah.
one of the other movies. But I read the page and I was like, this sounds awesome and also really gross and not
Yeah,
really
But I like-
not really
I
romantic.
love,
Netflix?
yeah, I love bleak and tragic. So
yes.
I had to buy it on Amazon.
Yes, and like this sounds like an awesome tragedy horror.
Yeah, it's bleak as fuck, but I do think the romance is there. Otherwise, I would
That's-
have bailed
yeah,
on it.
that's how I love romances to
but
be
yeah,
bleak
it-
and tragic.
That's what I love about Korean film, man. I'm not usually a bleak and tragic person, but I love, like, I saw The Devil is like just fucking dark and in Old Boy and all that, like everything from
Have
that.
you seen Handmaiden yet?
No, I haven't.
That's on Amazon. Fucking
Yeah.
great.
Talk about
It's on my
romance.
list of
Yeah,
things to
and
watch.
that's romantic and bleak as hell.
Yeah.
I want to be surprised by films, so I don't want to see the same thing I've seen 100 times, and so like that's
Korea's good for that.
yeah.
Great. Chaser's another really good one, although there's a bit of, woman being abused in that, but it's still just a great movie. Yeah, and The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which is one of my favorite movies.
that's
of all
amazing.
time.
Love that movie as well.
Love that movie.
But we should bring this thing to a close. So that's the end of our romantic horror movie battle. But we have the rest of October planned. So next week we have Chris Ortiz. Next week in quotations, we're recording it in like 10 minutes. We have him coming on for Tales,
Demon Night.
Demon Night.
yeah.
Tales from the Crypt, Demon Night.
Yeah, no, IMDb is very quick to correct you. It's like,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you mean Tales
Yeah.
from the Crypt Demon Night? I'm like, just give me the movie.
just put it on.
And if you've never seen Demon Night, there's a wonderful moment where I just forgot his name.
Billy Zane.
Billy Zane
Billy Zane.
literally has a glowing penis.
Yep. It's a fucking kick-ass movie that everyone should watch before next
I
week.
just remembered that scene. Oh.
And then the week after that, we have Mari coming back, friend of the show, who picked one of my all-time favorite movies, and I am so excited to talk about it because it's near flawless, An American Werewolf in London. Then the week after that, assuming that we don't have scheduling conflicts with him again, we have what was it called again? Devil's Rejects, and that one should be fun. I've never seen it, and I've heard great and horrible things, so it will be interesting. Unless, of course, we have scheduling conflicts yet again, which would be fitting for us, especially when we try to do things this far in advance. So again, Libby, where can people find you?
Sneaky Varmint. All over the world. It's Sneaky Varmint.
Awesome. That's just cool. That's the way you phrase it. All over the world, Sneaky Varmint.
She's well-traveled.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And sneaky.
And sneaky.
You can find us, www.athpod.com, where you can find everything that we're doing. And be sure to check out our Spotify playlist. I honestly think they're getting better every week. They're a ton of fun. And
I'm starting to run an issue since I seem to be the person with the least music knowledge. I'm like, crap. I have to start listening to more things.
I just go down my iTunes list.
I know.
Yeah.
It works if you're very quick.
Yeah. If you're listening to this today, you still have one day to listen to our Death playlist, which I thought was fucking awesome. And it gave me a reason to use Death Clock, which I love.
Yeah.
I used another Nightwish song because I always a reason to put a Nightwish.
There's always room for Nightwish. That's not true at all. Their songs are ridiculously long.
I love them.
I went for a combination of like serious and silly, and I'm happy with my choices.
Well done. All right, we're done. Thank you.
Bye.